I mentioned that's in Acts 21:30. If they do not keep, that is the commandments, to do, here's that doing, line 14 of column 6, according to the precise letter of the Torah. You have to do not one jot or tittle Torah. Not one jot or tittle shall pass away from the law. In the New Testament, at one point, Jesus says, until all these things are accomplished. If you break one small point of the law, you're guilty of breaking it all, says James in the letter of James. I'm not for it or against it. I don't keep the law. I told you that. I break it all the time. So I don't have an action that's conflict in terms ideologically speaking. But I want to emphasize what this group is about. To do, be a doer, letter of James says, according to the precise letter of the Torah in the error of wickedness. And again, to separate from the sons of the pit. To keep away from, and that's lehinazer. To keep away from is the same language James uses in Acts 15 when he gives his rulings to overseas communities. Keep away from fornication, things sacrificed to idols, blood and strangled things. Repeated 3 times. Keep away from. Now we see the Hebrew root. And guess what it's based on? Something that you're very familiar with. NZR. Why would it be based on a root NZR? What other word do you know that is based on the root NZR? Not Nazir. Nazirite. Why? Because a Nazirite keeps away from certain things. That's why he's a Nazir. And that's why early Christians were called Nazirites. And what we have here is to some, and Jesus was called a Nazirite, one of the Gospels says. And we have here actually what's being defined for you as a community of lifelong Nazirites. And if you look at the descriptions of James in early church literature, James is a Nazirite from his mother's womb, it says. And he wouldn't cut his hair. And he didn't, he wouldn't, there's all kind, a razor never came to his hair. I go through that in my book on James. Well, here it's using the NZR root. That's what's so important. You just read this in English, you don't get it. Or someone doesn't explain it, put a footnote. To do, or the precise, that's what they're going into wilderness to do, to separate from the sons of the pit. Look, let me stop a moment. Let me run over to the community rule. Column 8. Do the rest of it. But look at column 8. When we're talking about the council of the community. What are they to do? They're to do truth, righteousness, love, piety, humility, love each man his neighbor, keep the faith in the land with steadfastness and humble spirit, atone for sin by doing judgment, just like Jesus, and suffering affliction. That's Jesus of the New Testament. And they shall walk with everyone according to the standard of truth in the essence of time, with the existence of these in Israel. The council of the community shall be established upon truth like an eternal plantation. There's that plantation language again. That's why all these documents hang together. You want to put this document in the 2nd century BC, and you can't put the other document in the 1st century AD. Vice versa. You want to put the other document in the 1st century AD, you got to put this document in the 1st century AD too. That's what the scholars who work on this stuff don't understand. Their pedagraphic sequences are meaningless. They're just a stab in the dark, a hope. But as against internal evidence of this kind, you just may have a conservative scribe writing a document as opposed to an innovative younger scribe or something. He doesn't tell you anything about when the document was written. If I take all your papers and throw them down on the floor here, all that it will tell me when I finally separate them out, and according to your handwriting, is who your teacher was to some extent that made you write your handwriting like that. It doesn't tell me anything particularly about when you wrote it particularly. In any case, think about that. A house of holiness for Israel. We heard about a house of faith. Now we're hearing about a house of holiness and the community rule and the foundation of the Holy of Holies for Aaron. So this community rule is a symbolic temple. Remember, Jesus in the scripture says that I will destroy this place and raise it up in 3 days. That he was not speaking about himself or something like that. He was speaking about, he was not speaking about the temple, he was speaking about himself. That Jesus is the temple in the Ephesians, who all enter and commune with and so on. Ephesians and other letters of Paul, Jesus is the temple. Well, so is this community council. And they're also, so the priests in it are the Holy of Holies for Aaron. The lay members of the council are the house of holiness. And what do? They are witnesses of the truth of judgment and the chosen or elect of his will to, and here we are again, to make atonement for the land. That's how the Christian religion portrays Jesus, to make atonement for the land. And to pay the wicked their reward. Oh, we're going to hear that again later on in the Habakkuk commentary and elsewhere. They pay the wicked their reward. We already heard it about the sons of Zadok, that they will stand, and I think something about they will condemn the wicked and justify the righteous. Here it's pay the wicked their reward. That'll be in the Habakkuk Pesher. They will be a tested rampart, a precious cornerstone. Anyone who knows the Gospels knows that's how Jesus presented in the Gospel imagery, a precious cornerstone. Also, at one point, the stone which the builders are rejected shall become the cornerstone. The foundation of which will not shake or sway in their place. Isaiah 28:16. It will be a dwelling of holies for Aaron, with everlasting knowledge of the covenant of judgment, offering up a pleasing fragrance. Well, they are the pleasing fragrance. A house of perfection and truth in Israel, to establish an everlasting covenant of laws. And they will be an acceptable free will offering. Here we have it a third time. To atone for the land. They are the offering, the council. And render judgment. 2nd century BC, 1st century AD. You tell me. And there will be no more unrighteousness. When these have been confirmed in perfection of the way, the name of the way this group is going to behave, and it's going to be in all the documents, perfection of the way, for 2 whole years, by the foundation of the community. I think Paul at one point says he went into Arabia for 2 years, or was it 3? I can't remember. Then he came back to Damascus. In the letter to the Galatians, I can't remember exactly what he says. It was 2. Who can remember? Was it 2 or 3? Anyway, for 2 whole years, they will be set aside as holy within the council of the men of the community, and the guide, the blind guides who fall into the pit, will not hide from them any matter revealed by him, but hidden from Israel out of fear of a spirit of heresy. We don't know what these other laws they had were, because they had some secret laws. Maybe they said the law wasn't binding anymore. I don't know. And with the existence of these for a community in Israel, and according to these regulations, why am I reading all this? For what comes next. They shall separate from the midst of the habitation of the men of unrighteousness to go into